Hello everybody, my name is Pravus, and welcome to Troy, a Total War saga. This is another installment in the famous Total War franchise, exclusively focused on Homer's Iliad and the Battle of Troy. A big thank you to Creative Assembly and Sega for sponsoring today's video to celebrate the release of the game on Steam, whereas before it was only on the Epic Games Store, and also to celebrate the release of a new expansion called MYTHOS. Now, Troy has always been a mythological battle, and the game reflects that, focusing a lot on the Greek heroes of legend like Achilles, Odysseus, Ajax, Hector, Agamemnon, and so on. Well, what the new expansion, MYTHOS, does is it takes that mythological factor and turns it up to 11. No longer do we only have incredible Greek heroes, but we also have mythological monsters, harpies, sirens, minotaurs, giants, and even some truly monumental beasts of legend that we can tame and change the entire outcome of the war. And that's exactly what we're going to be exploring today. On the off chance mythological battles are not really your thing, well, the game also is going to be introducing a historical mode in the MYTHOS expansion, which actually removes all the powers of the great hero characters and makes them into regular generals as well. But, I mean, come on, I want to play with some mythological monsters, so that's what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to be joining the side of the Trojans for this conflict by playing as Hector, the eldest prince of Troy and brother of Paris. He's a pretty straightforward character, very strong, decent economic start at the beginning of the game, pretty much in a position to dominate a lot of the rest of the Trojans, and I think that works out really well for us because we do still need to play the base game as well as enjoy the new mythological content. But I'm going to say that Hector knows that there is writing on the wall, that Troy's doom doth approacheth, and he is going to be turning to great mythological monsters and the gods of old in order to turn things around. That's going to be our roleplay. If you've never seen Troy before, don't worry, it plays similarly to a lot of other Total War games. That is to say, there are two primary game modes. One is a campaign map mode, where I can manage my cities, my population growth, and make sure that I am supplying the best armaments to my soldiers possible. And the second is a battle simulation mode, where I pit my armies against an enemy, hopefully using superior arms and tactics in order to slaughter my enemies. Troy does things a little bit differently, though, because we also have powerful hero units, which can activate special powers to boost up your troops, and are one-man armies in and of themselves. They can take on much larger groups than one man normally would be able to. Very important to manage your heroes. They're not invincible, just really powerful. This gets even more interesting with the MYTHOS expansion unlocked, because now we can mix mythological units into our armies. So as Hector, we start off with giants unlocked, which are huge humanoids that can soak up a lot of hits and smash all the puny little mortals. We want to use these guys as frontline bruisers, terrifying our enemies and crushing huge numbers with every single swing. Also, maybe bash down the gates of enemy cities. That's a pretty nice advantage. We can probably unlock different types of mythological creatures as well. I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet, but I do know other factions can start with other monsters. For example, harpies, a flying unit. You can imagine that would have a huge tactical impact. For now, though, I am content to use these giants to smash my neighbors and try to consolidate some territory. I do need a larger economic base, so I will be powerful enough for what is to come. If you're playing as either Hector or Paris, you actually do need to play a small minigame where the two of us are competing for the favor of our father, Priam, the king of Troy. If we can accomplish certain missions and tasks for him, like conquer a territory or set up a trade agreement with somebody, etc., we can get enough benevolence that we can be named the sole heir of Troy, at which point we become the leaders of the Trojan confederations and subjugate our brother and the city of Troy under our rule. A very powerful position to be in before the war against the Achaean Greeks across the sea. That said, it's going to be a little bit difficult to fulfill all of my father's missions and also pursue my quarry. What quarry is that? Oh, don't worry. You'll see. Oh, what's this? The Call of the Mother. Some strange snake cultists have appeared? Ooh. This isn't quite what I'm looking for, but we're getting closer. As is always the case with Total War games, the tactical battles are just a blast to play. And one of the things that I love about it so much is that tactics really plays an absolutely crucial role. Finding the right terrain, holding the high ground, making sure you have enough troops to hold the front line while you flank with other units and demoralize your opponents. It's all so very important. I mean, if you play this correctly, you can easily take on foes that are about the same size as you and walk away with like a tenth of the casualties if you play well and you have good enough units. Can't say that I always do that, but sometimes I pull off some miraculous decisive victories, and boy does that feel good. I've decided I no longer care what my father is asking for. I am going to push to the east and conquer some of my neighbors. I need some additional resources being added to my faction. There are a few that you will need to manage, food being the most important in the beginning of the game, because without food, you can't supply your troops. The more food you have, the more troops you can reliably put in the field, and the more troops you have, the more decisive your victories are likely to be. Wood is also important. You'll use that to construct some early game buildings, such as better barracks, farms, or temples in order to appease the gods, and yes, god powers are a thing in the Mythos expansion. But eventually, food and wood are no longer going to be the most important resources. We'll need sources of stone and iron in order to build the higher level buildings and maintain the higher level units. And high level units really do make a huge difference. There's also gold as a resource, which is important for tithes to the gods and earning their favor, but not something I need to worry about right now. For now, it's food and wood that I care about, and also just beating down any neighbors who might backstab me later. AIs, if they're not in an alliance with you, always be wary. You never know if they're going to attack you when they see an opportunity. There is also a royal decrees option in the game, which is almost like a technological tree. It's kind of like passing more advanced laws, which can give you some pretty substantial national benefits, such as happier people, better economic growth, or more resource production, cheaper units, etc. All these are things that you should consider, but I'm just going to pick things that give me a good economic early game advantage. I need as much growth as possible and a large army. Fun fact about heroes, by the way, they can level up as they gain experience getting into conflicts, and with those level ups come skill points, which you can spend to make your hero better in some way. Maybe increasing their damage or their survivability, or making the army better, such as faster reload speed for your range units, or maybe some powers that you can activate a couple times per battle to heal some units or give them a battle range or increase movement speed, etc. High-level heroes have a lot at their disposal, which can really change the tide of a battle. Oh, some new options have presented themselves. We have monster selection as an option up top. Okay, this is where we can decide which of 3 great monsters we want to pursue and try to get to join our army. We have the Griffin Patriarch, Cerberus, and the Lernean Hydra, 3 great monsters of lore, and any one of them could greatly turn a battle in my favor. In my case, I kind of want to pursue Cerberus. I mean, how cool would it be to storm the gates of Tartarus and steal the 3-headed dog away from Hades and use it to control Shades, the dead, to fight on my side? Yeah, that will stop the Greeks, no doubt. We have to do that. I'm going for Cerberus, dude. Once a monster has been selected, we have to then create a mythic expedition, an adventuring party, if you will. From here, we have to choose a party leader, and there's a roster of many different level 1 heroes we could pick from, and then we will send up to 9 units to travel with that hero. We can choose from pretty much any units we have unlocked in our capital region. I'm not going to send these guys out immediately because I want to unlock some higher tier units first, but as soon as I have access to some better giants and such, we are going to be going for a mythic expedition, and we're going to start hunting for Cerberus. While we wait for all that to come together, though, we do need to continue playing the game as intended, and that means lots of conquest. I haven't finished off my neighbors to the east yet, and I do not want them to be a thorn in my side. So that means conquering the rest of their settlements and besieging their great cities, which is what we're trying to do now. This is always a very painful endeavor because siege equipment wasn't super advanced back then, and I don't have any Trojan horses with which to appease them, so we have to try to bash down the doors using my giants and storm through the gates. I mean, if we can do that, I feel like we're in a pretty good position. Fun fact about the AI of Troy, if we do set a single unit off to the gates that we are not planning to storm, the AI still will panic and send a few units to go and ward them off, as if one unit could storm the gate by themselves. Pretty good way to force them to split their forces, at least until you manage to bash down one gate. At that point, they then consolidate everything they've got against you, and it's going to be a mad melee, so good luck with that. We're doing all right, though. We're fighting in the streets, losing quite a bit of men. We're routing a lot of theirs, seeing a few of mine try to retreat, but they are rallying, and we're doing all right. Using my hero to great effect in order to try and inspire the men and make them move faster and fight all the harder. Yeah, things are going pretty well for us over here. Usually for me, once we have managed to pin down an enemy, flank them, get their morale down to the point where I see a skull icon that says they are fleeing and they will not come back, it's usually not worth trying to pursue them. I mean, you can. If you want to get some extra experience for your units and make them level up faster, that's something you can do, but winning the battle is more important than getting every tiny little bit of extra experience, in my opinion. So that's where I turn around and I try to use my superior numbers to start pressing the attack against the vanguard of their forces, and usually it works. It's pretty rare that I lose a fight in Troy unless I'm grossly outnumbered or I have mere pathetic garrison units at my disposal. I did get an event for some shades that have appeared out of the underworld, similar to the Call of the Mother event we saw earlier, but this time Cerberus related. We should go fight them. One, it's a good opportunity to test my mettle against the undead and see how powerful they're going to be, and two, it's fun. I just need some more experience, so we're going to get into battle with them. Shades are tough. Reason being, they don't run away. Shades can't have their morale break. They're already dead, so they will fight until the bitter end, which means you really want to be flanking them in order to get as many advantages in combat as possible and keep your casualties down to a minimum, which is exactly what we are doing over here. Also, their archers seem to be pretty powerful to me, so yikes, that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll set a couple of units to chase down their archers so they don't feel like they have a chance to turn around and take any shots, and then all we can do is just surround and beat down these dang shades until eventually they're all dead again and sent back to Hades. Well, we won that. Definitely tough. I'm a little bit worried about what this is going to mean when we do eventually find Cerberus. If he brings the undead to help, this is going to be rough. Okay, in my capital, we did finally get the city to grow enough that I was able to unlock some of the better higher tier buildings and get upgrades for my giants and my soldiers. So now we need to figure out what our hunting party is going to be. I think we'll bring along the best giants I can, which is very expensive from a food and iron standpoint. And I would like to bring my highest possible tier levels of swordsmen, but I don't quite have enough iron to make that work. And only 9 units means we need to be very careful with our configuration. I think I'll bring along a handful of medium-level swordsmen. So they have shields, they're fairly defendable, but they're a bit lighter and faster moving than heavy shieldsmen, which is very good for flanking. And we'll bring along some higher-level peltists. These guys should be able to do a pretty good amount of range damage. So a good, strong front line and some strong range units to sit in the back. All right, let's launch that expedition. From here on out, we're going to get some events every few turns, which describe the adventures of our mythical expedition. In this case, for example, we're arriving at some holy grounds, which we can then train with some warriors, or recruit them, or maybe initiate in some of their sacred rituals, etc. And each of these will end up doing different things to your armies, some good, some bad, and might have an impact on what choices will be available to you in future events as well. So there's probably a best path to take to get the best possible result when we eventually do confront Cerberus. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm just going into this blind. But for example, we trained with these warriors. As a result, my units are all fatigued and have lost some health, but did gain experience, which means maybe they'll fight a little bit more effectively in the future. So that could be worth it. Maybe. Now here's an example of a follow-on event that might have some consequences. So a young priest is guiding us on our quest, and we have found a cave set in a cliff. There appear to be some survivors from perhaps a shipwreck or some sort of other carnage. We could reveal ourselves, we could ransack their dead, or had we initiated in the rites of the previous event, we would have had the option to stay out of sight and then honor and burn the dead. But because I did not initiate myself, that's not an option. So perhaps we've locked ourselves out from a particularly great reward. And this is where you're just going to have to try and experiment and see what works. Heck, I think I made a wrong turn somewhere because I'm being distracted by a bunch of weird underworld butterflies, which has led me to Circe. Oh, that's probably not good for me. Circe is a witch, and she's the one who keeps Odysseus captive for a long time. Well, this may be horrible for me, but alright, I'm going to spend a night with her naiads over here, which apparently gives me some sort of a buff, which might be important for the future. I lose some more health, but I gain more experience. Alright. Well, it can't be all bad. Circe did give me some good directions toward the shores of Hades, and we found that, but we do encounter a Grim Reaper type of figure. Ooh, had I found a couple of different options, either initiating in some rituals or helping some giants earlier, I'd have a couple of options in this final selection, but because I didn't, I only have one option, which is to say, my hero will perform one great final feat of heroism and then must stay in Hades forever, his soul lost. I will not get to keep the character. That will give me some buffs in the upcoming battle, but it sucks to lose a hero going forward. Oh well, onward! Oh, we have found Hades all right. Ho ho ho, we have found Hades all right. Okay. Well, this is an epic battleground. Yeah, so I'm bringing in the armor of Hector as well as my other hero whose name I've already forgotten. That gives me quite a few units to work with. I see that Cerberus is in the back and he has a lot of troops to defend him. It looks to me like we're going to have to defeat all of the armies that are defending Cerberus. And then we are going to have to attack the doggo himself. Unfortunately, remember, these are shades, and shades do not retreat, so we are going to have to actually beat all of them while keeping my casualties to a minimum because I need as many troops as possible in order to take on Cerberus. The game suggested this was a nearly impossible fight for me to win. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm trying really hard to be careful here. We have giants and spearmen and any advanced defensive shielded units up at the front line tanking as many hits from the wretched shades as possible, while I try to sneak a few units around the flanks to attack from behind, getting as many casualties in as possible. It's sort of working. My flanks are struggling in a couple of areas. My giants are even getting injured. But the good thing about giants is as long as they're not dead, we can activate an ability which allows them to stay stock still for a while and heal themselves. That could be nice. Also, I taught Hector how to do some healing. So if we group all the troops up, we can try to get as much health as possible before we go into this final fight. Okay, the shades are mostly dealt with. Now we need to advance on Cerberus' position. I want to have a good, wide front line, and I am going to collapse around the dog as much as possible. Oh, great. He summoned more shades. Well, that's no good. And he apparently can summon flames. Oh, yes. Okay. Doggo can literally call hellfire from Hades upon me. That's good. Oh, yeah, this bodes real well. Uh-oh. I might be in trouble. And some shades are being summoned at the far ends of the map to flank me. I don't really have the forces to spare to try and intercept them, but I also don't have a choice, because if I get flanked, I truly am going to be in trouble. This is not looking great. Okay, I am trying to collapse as many troops as I can on Cerberus. I'm sure that's not the best thing to do. We should probably have higher level forces and our heroes tanking the hits from Cerberus as much as we can. But I also feel like if I don't do as much damage as possible and he keeps summoning in more troops, then I'm not going to be able to win this. So we're going to have to accept some pretty high human casualties in order to win a dog. The dog apparently also has an ability where he does a terrifying howl and reduces the morale of all my forces, which is causing some of them to shatter and run away. Yeah, that's not good. It makes me want Cerberus all the more, because he seems really, really good. But holy crap, this dog is dangerous. He is wrecking my troops. Oh, come on. We're getting really close. I am trying so hard here. I'm putting everything I've got on the dog. Range units at a distance do as much damage as possible. Every melee unit, you know what? Some of you will die, but this is a sacrifice I am willing to make. I must have Cerberus, and he's down! I've got a three-headed dog down for the count, ready to go. Cerberus, you shall serve me. Sure enough, here he is on the map. He's got some special abilities, and I'm not entirely sure how all of these work yet. We definitely want to put this dog to use before I end this video, because what's the point of having a three-headed hellhound if I can't actually use him, right? Pretty sure he actually has a special ability where we can use him to gather souls, and as I gather souls, I can spend that as a new currency in order to summon shades from Hades to come and serve me. We already know those shades are powerful. They'll never heal, they'll never regenerate, so once they're done, we should just go ahead and disband, but, I mean, that's a pretty serious boost to my forces, just getting free troops whenever I want. But how do we gather souls? Well, simply killing enemies nearby Cerberus is not going to be enough. Cerberus does have an ability we can use where he walks right up to an enemy army or city and just basically sucks out some of the souls, causing damage to all of the garrisoned forces. That's pretty darn good. Alternatively, if we get Cerberus to join in an army, we can call him in as if he's a regular unit. Oh yeah, we have got to try that. There he is. There's my glorious pupper. All right, I'm going to have some giants and other forces join him and fight on the right while Hector takes a force on the left, and we're going to attack this city. But Cerberus, I want to see exactly what you can do. Use your howl, Cerberus. Yeah, he definitely scares a lot of enemy units. He also scares my own units. Okay, that's not so good. We can use him to summon in some free shades. Well, that's pretty powerful if you can distract the enemy and then summon in a few shades to flank from the rear. That obviously can break an army pretty effectively. That's huge. That's really good. We also can use flames just like we saw before. That's really potent. Oh man, I love the feeling of that. That's great. How does he do if he goes one-on-one on a bunch of units though? Answer, he's a literal army unto himself. He can handle regiments of enemies with no problem and chase them all down. Oh, I like this puppy. This is gonna be fun. Just like that, I would say that Hector has turned the tide of the Trojan War. Bring it on, Greeks. I've got hell on my side. Well, I think that gives you a pretty good idea of what the Mythos expansion has to offer for Troy. I mean, I've got a 3-headed hellhound that can suck out your soul and summon the undead. What more can you possibly want? And I'm not even taking advantage of all the features of the expansion. I haven't discovered how to get more mythological monsters into my army like harpies, sirens, minotaurs, and so on, but I do know that they do exist in this expansion, so that is something to certainly hunt for. And we haven't invoked the powers of the gods. If we had one more favor from any of the gods, which I tried to do but didn't quite get far enough, we could literally summon lightning bolts or other abilities. That's obviously pretty huge too. So yeah, there's a lot to explore in this, and as somebody who really enjoys Homer's Iliad and Greek mythology in general, this is pretty darn exciting and fun. But you know what? If you don't like mythology, good news is there's historical mode for you as well, so we can take out all the myth and turn it into just another Total War game, which is still fun in and of its own right. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and again, thank you to Creative Assembly and Sega for sponsoring this video. If you guys would like to learn more about Troy Total War, then you can find a link in the description down below. Be sure to leave a comment, subscribe, hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.